News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Shocking news today. Tyson Foods is laying off thousands and thousands and thousands of its employees and is instead replacing them with Joe Biden's illegals that he's brought in the past 3 years. They are trying to hire 42,000 of Joe's illegals, and they're going to not only listen to this, but now mind you, they're firing employees at an Iowa plant, that 1,300 in Iowa, but they've fired scores more in the past year or so, plus in the next at the end of this year, they're going to fire scores more. They're shutting down plants all over the country in Iowa, Virginia, Arkansas, Indiana, and Missouri, firing us and hiring Joe's illegals. They're also going to pay for them to have attorneys for any immigration issues. They're also going to, quote, benefit from temporary housing, on-site childcare, transportation, and English classes. Tyson in 2022 agreed to hire 2,500 of Joe's illegals under this, quote, tent program. So, meanwhile, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows between July and August last year, gosh, that's 2 months, there was a staggering decrease of 1.2 million native-born people working in the workforce. So this literally is an entire replacement of us and our jobs, and Tyson Foods, in my opinion, must be boycotted. And there's a long list. There's even a longer list than I knew about. I've tweeted it out on my Twitter feed and on my Facebook feed. Man, it's unbelievable how many things they run. We must stop buying their products, and if that means paying more or getting different products, so be it. I can tell you that Tyson, Jimmy Dean, Hillshire Farm, Hillshire Ballpark, State Fair, Sara Lee, I mean, there's a whole bunch that I no longer will buy. I will let my wife know so that we don't miss this when either of us gets stuff, because they're replacing Americans with a new slave labor class that Joe has brought in. There are allegations that they established a recruitment database, the Daily Mail says today, tailored for illegals, providing them with legal assistance as a benefit alongside health benefits. Every one of these illegals must be thrown out of this country. Instead of given jobs and lawyers, they must be thrown out of this country. So, I mean, it's just disgusting. Question for you is, does Tyson firing 1,300 staffers in their bid to hire 42,000 of Joe Biden's illegal migrants make you want to boycott Tyson Foods and all their products? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. In addition to the 42,000 they want to hire, they are also saying they want to hire up to 84,000 illegals that Joe Biden brought in this year alone. Also coming in today from Fox News, a measles outbreak from Joe's illegals in Chicago, including their public school system. A disease that was eradicated 24 years ago is back because of Joe Biden's illegal program. Also, a man arrested for raping another child, this one a disabled child, in Massachusetts. Meantime, Governor DeSantis details an alarming find aboard a Haitian illegal migrant boat seized off the Florida coast. 25 illegals. They had firearms, drugs, night vision gear, and they were boating recklessly. Thank you, Joe, for everything you're bringing into this country. I'll give you some more details on the feds raising their fees for immigration, but I want to go back to your call. Let's go. We got... our truck driver, we lost him. Well, if he wants to call back, put that truck driver back on. Plus your call, 800-288-WBAP. We've got 3 lines open, 800-288-9227. I was just about to take our truck driver friend. Especially with his perspective. He was saying that most of these companies, there's a lot more companies that Tyson owns than you realize. I'm a truck driver, he said. And I would love to hear more from him and from you, especially like these salt of the earth folks that... I don't know how many illegals are going to start replacing our jobs. I can't believe this. Joe Biden wants to get them embedded into our workforce and get them lawyers before Trump gets in. I pray he gets in. All right, Benton in Dallas. You are live on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hi, Benton.
Yeah, I'm going to address this, and if we have time, I'd like to tell you about the situation I had with an illegal.
Yes.
But we are in a hot war. them giving, I think you said 45,000 jobs to illegals and letting go of American citizens.
42,000 jobs they want to hire by the end of this year, and they want to hire another 42,000 to 84,000 while they have laid off thousands of Americans, including 1,300 staffers the other day in Iowa. They're closing the Iowa plant, the Virginia, Arkansas, Indiana, and Missouri plants, and they want to double their illegal immigration hire to 84,000. And just so you know that, as I mentioned, in July and August, those 2 months last year alone, our workforce participation from American native-born citizens went down by 1.2 million. We're leaving the workforce. We're getting replaced by illegals. And we heard from a gentleman who called in the last hour whose dad just got fired from Tyson, and he told him about this. And he says, yes, everything you're hearing is true.
Yeah, we're in a hot war, but we're the only side taking casualties, and we've got to fight back by as peaceful as you can for now. Hope it doesn't go, full throttle civil war by boycotting people like Tyson. But 30 years ago, an illegal alien, a young lady from South America, Mexico somewhere, ran a red light. I was valedictorian. I have an MBA. I worked for 2 professional football teams. I'd started my own successful company. I lost everything, and now I'm on disability from this horrific wreck, which all but killed me. And I'm just fighting to survive. I'm just keeping a roof over my head and a little food in the house, and they're giving them tens of thousands of our tax dollars. I mean, we're at the edge of a civil war.
What'd you get your MBA at?
A local northeast Texas school, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's fine. Okay, that's good. Good for you. So I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, every day things get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And we have to come together like we did for Target, like we did for Bud Light. We need to Bud Light Tyson. This is bad. This is freaking bad. I think we just need to print out a piece of paper with all of them on this list and just make sure when you go out there you don't buy those products. Just, eventually remember what the names are. They have to be brought to their knees, and they can hire all the illegals they want, but we have to crush them by not buying their products anymore. It's just that simple. I appreciate your call. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. We got 3 lines open at 800-288-9227. Is Larry good to go now? Okay, where's he calling from? Do we know? I'll find out. What? Okay. Hey, Larry, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Where are you calling from, brother?
Chris, you got me?
Yes, where are you calling from?
I'm here in Arlington.
Okay, good.
Listen, I started driving 35 years ago, and, I hauled refrigerated trailers for many years.
Yes.
And, it used to be Iowa beef producers. And then when Tyson started getting big, man, they come in and they bought out everybody. And like we talked before the break, Tyson owns more companies than you know what to do with. And I have a lot of respect for the truck drivers that drive for Tyson, but Tyson as a company, man, they're tied into Walmart, out of Bentonville, Arkansas, too.
I think we've seen our truckers refuse to bring cargo into New York after what they've done there. So I think I would pray that our truckers would switch and stop driving Tyson Foods trucks. We could end this really, really fast if we all stop buying all their products and if we all stop delivering their products and refusing to work with them. That's what we must do to stop this. That's the only way to do it, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you totally, but I'm just saying Tyson is such a big company that owns so many branches.
You know what else, though? Bud Light was. They were the number 1 beer seller in America, weren't they? Now it's Modelo. Yeah. They're huge. They're just as big, and they were brought to heel. They were brought to heel like a dog, which is what should happen to Tyson Foods. I appreciate your call. Larry in Springtown, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Larry. I'm sorry, Jay. Hey, Jay. Hey, go ahead.
Well, yeah, like I said to the screener, for all these people that Tyson, American citizens that Tyson's stabbing in the back, I wonder how many of them voted for Biden. And if they did, they're getting what they deserve. And for the ones who are getting shafted that didn't vote for Biden, my heart goes out to them.
I agree.
Number 2, these towns and these cities where these people, these American citizens are getting shafted by Tyson and there's other companies and Biden, Are they going to welcome all these illegal immigrants coming into their towns and cities and work for these companies? I mean, where are these people going to live?
I pray they
got to live in these towns and the cities.
I pray they boycott them and non-violently, non-violently through their boycotts, throw them out. Refuse to allow them to work there, boycott them every day, tell them to get out of our country, and tell Tyson to go pound sand. We should not buy any Tyson products. It's a lengthy list, but you just print it and put it with you in your car, and then when you go to the grocery store, bring it with you and put it back in your glove box. That simple. Jay, I appreciate your call, my friend.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, I want to get to this. Uber, you're going to love this. This is going to be quite the discussion. Uber and Lyft leave Minneapolis. They're going to leave Minneapolis, the entire metropolitan area of Minneapolis. I work there on radio. It's the 16th largest metropolitan area in the country. Uber and Lyft are going to leave, and I think Uber is literally going to stop doing any operations at all in not just in Minneapolis, where there's a new law they passed, but they're not going to do any metro driving at all, including the airport. They're done. It's amazing. How do they do it? Why? And I agree with them. Next. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Does Tyson firing 1,300 staffers in their bid to hire 42,000 of Joe Biden's illegal migrants make you want to boycott Tyson Foods and all their products, which are up on my Twitter and Facebook page as of right now? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. In just a second, we're going to talk about Uber and Lyft leaving Minneapolis. Why? And it's a fantastic statement. And this is people, liberal Democrats in that city, destroying the very people, that city and the very people they claim to care about. It's shocking, but that's what they do. That's what the left does. But first, let's go to Larry in Sunnyvale. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Larry.
Hey, I just wanted to say that, it was a couple of years ago, the government mandated that employers weren't paying high enough wages. So companies went out of business and people lost their jobs. And then a year later, they're saying, we got to let these immigrants come over because we need cheap labor. So at the time I was going, what's it going to be? And then now I'm hearing about Tyson this week, and also Bernie Sanders saying that people need to get paid for 40 for 32. So what's the everyday employer supposed to do? That's my comment.
Well, I like your comment, and I appreciate your call, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. I also want to get into this great story today from Fox Business. And it shows what happens when the left gets involved in trying to manage and micromanage companies with minimum wage. And some people, even on our side, tend to say, well, minimum wage laws are good and we need to up it. I strongly disagree. And the reason I strongly disagree is because in America, we have the freedom to choose where we want to work. And if McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or Walmart or Target don't pay enough, you can leave and go somewhere else. I think that the real value is in what the company sees in its employees and what they're willing to work for the value they want. That's it. And I don't think any minimum wage does anything. And really what it's there for, why the Democrats love it so much, want to raise it so much, is to help their unions. Yeah, their contracts are based on what the minimum wage is. And when that goes up, their contracts go up. And it's just not necessary in this country. But when you try to jack it up and try to make it a, quote, living wage, it destroys jobs and it destroys companies. Witness what just took place today. This is stunning and amazing. Uber and Lyft are going to leave Minneapolis due to their minimum wage law. They're freaking leaving the 16th largest metropolitan area in the country. And they will not drive you to the airport if you're in an exurb of Minneapolis. I lived there for 2 years. I lived in St. Paul, right by downtown, across the river from it. It's gorgeous. And I lived in Roseville, which is on the border of Minneapolis and St. Paul, touching both of them. So this is really amazing. Can you imagine us not having Uber or Lyft? And by the way, haven't they already decimated all the cab companies for the most part? I don't know. I think so. Well, if they've done that already, then you have no way to get around, don't you? You're going to have to call limousines. Or have somebody drop you off. Isn't this amazing? Good. You idiots voted these people in. The city council, they overrid the veto from the mayor. That little weak, Joe Biden-esque, little wimpy, feckless, limp Jacob Frey, the one who was there during St. George Floyd, blessed be his name, when he died from that drug overdose, and just was trying to appease everybody. They were going after him and treating him all nastily. Even he saw the wisdom in not doing this. He vetoed it. They overrode it. So Lyft now says today, I love this. Literally, these people are punishing their own people even more. Lyft says it's shutting down operations in Minneapolis when the law takes effect on May 1st. So nowhere in Minneapolis will Lyft be. They'll stay in the Twin Cities area, but they will not be in Minneapolis proper at all. When the law takes effect May 1st, which is a month, 6 weeks from now, they're out. Lyft is out of Minneapolis. Uber says they're going to stop operating all of their transport network in the entire metropolitan area, including the airport. That same day they announced it. Gone. Uber and Lyft in 6 weeks are gone. I mean, this is a major metropolitan area, y'all. Because this new law they passed, they said, well, we want a living wage for Uber drivers. The minimum pay that they voted in is $1.40 per mile, or 51, and in addition to that, 51 cents per minute, a minimum of $5 per trip, whichever is greater. The city council wants to ensure that driver rates are, quote, equivalent to the local minimum wage, which they raised to $15.57. There you go. There you go. They said they would not let their communities be exploited by cheap labor. Well, now they're all unemployed. Yay! Now they're all unemployed. Yay! And people have nowhere to go. Have no way to get to the airport, or driven around when they're drunk. So you probably have more drunken driving episodes. Seriously, one of my very good friends who was in the police force in St. Paul for years, he told me when I was there, I was doing a show in the evening from 7 to 9 p.m. actually, and he said on your way home you would be careful because there's a lot of drunken drivers out there. He said he gave me a stat. I forget what it was. But it's like, I can't remember if it's 1 in 4 drivers or 1 out of 5 drivers are drunk. In his expertise or his guesstimation. So I think you're going to have a lot more drunken drivers because of this. Stand by. We're going to get into more of this, but we have a lot of Uber drivers who listen. I want to hear from you. Call in on this too. Do you feel people who choose to work at a job like Uber or Lyft are being, quote, exploited for cheap labor? Do you think the minimum wage laws or living wage laws work? And do you think the more you increase minimum wage, the less businesses are going to hire and the more likely they are to leave the area where they've passed minimum wage, living wage laws like they just did in Minneapolis? All that next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP. Our number is 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Our number is 800-288-WBAP. That's 800-288-9227. Uber and Lyft to leave Minneapolis on May 1st. In fact, Uber is going to leave the entire Minneapolis metropolitan area, like the whole metro area, which is all of the... I think there's, last time I checked, like 2.5 million or 3.5 million people there. 16th largest metropolitan area in the country, same size as Phoenix, etc. And they literally are leaving because they are passing a new law. They overrode the governor's veto, the mayor's veto, to pay $140 a mile, 51 cents per minute, total maximum or minimum of $5 per trip. So for $140 a mile, 51 cents a minute, they're equivalent. What they want to do is have the equivalent to the local minimum wage of $15.57 an hour. the Minnesota Department of Labor says they get $13.63 an hour is what their guesstimation is for drivers in MSP, Minneapolis-St. Paul. The far left City Council in Minneapolis says we would not let communities be exploited for cheap labor. Drivers are human beings with families. They deserve dignified human wages like all of the workers. Well, now they're unemployed, so they won't have anything to worry about. They won't have to be worried about, getting the proper wage. They have no wage now. And people that might rely on Uber for transportation, or if they're intoxicated, or if they need to get to the airport like many of us do, no longer have a way. So enjoy it. Now they're unemployed and they have no choice. Instead of being pro-choice, they have no choice. Well, there you go. So Uber told Fox Business the move is putting 10,000 people out of work and leaving many stranded. What do you think? Do you feel people who choose to work at a job like Uber or Lyft are being exploited for cheap labor? I don't think so at all. I think that they have a right to decide where they want to work. Do you think minimum wage laws or living wage laws work? And do you think the more you increase it, the minimum wage, the less businesses will hire and the more likely they are to leave the area when they pass these minimum wage, living wage laws? Cheryl in Arlington, you've called in at 800-288-WBAP. Cheryl, you're live on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hello, Cheryl.
Hi, I have a few comments. Mm-hmm. One is, I've lived in Australia for a couple of years.
Crikey! Crikey!
Right. And over there, waitresses don't operate on a tip basis. They're on a salary or a wage basis. And their minimum wage makes it so expensive to eat out that a lot of people can't even afford to eat out at all.
Well, the good news is the people in charge and their voters can afford to eat out. That's why they keep voting the same way. They don't have a problem. Like our upper class and beyond, the suburban and inner urban white liberals who make good money and keep voting for Joe. They don't see a problem,
Right. And then the other comment I have is I've also driven for Uber quite a bit in between jobs. Mm-hmm. And it has kept food on my plate. But the truth of the matter is their pay to their drivers is so low and the cost and expenses of operating a vehicle are high enough that, the IRS says it's about 62 cents a mile. And I would agree. I would concur with that because over time you have to replace parts on your vehicle and stuff.
Absolutely.
And you have to also... Yeah. You have to cover your own insurance, even though they provide commercial insurance. So I started doing a ledger where I would keep track of all my miles I drove for the day and how much money I earned in that day, and I would multiply the miles by 62 cents. Subtract that from the money I earned, and I'm telling you, I'm earning less than minimum wage.
I don't doubt it. So what does that tell you then? What are you choosing to do then?
Well, when you're in a spot where you're between jobs, like I'm a registered nurse.
That's wonderful.
I don't have a lot of skills in other areas. So when I've been between jobs while you're waiting, you don't get a paycheck right away. You don't get hired right away. Mm-hmm. There's a period of time, right? Mm-hmm. So that doing that has kept food on our table. But what I recognize it's doing is basically you're trading your car. You're turning your car into cash.
Correct.
And you're not actually, when I did my taxes, the few times that I've done that in the year, I haven't had to pay any income taxes on it because I was living below the poverty level.
Wow. So, okay, are you one of these nurses that does contracts where you, not a traveling nurse, but similar to where you go where they need you at different places?
Well, no, I have done travel nursing, though. But I guess my main point about Uber and Lyft and that, at least I know about Uber, they charge the restaurants for the delivery service. They charge the customers for the delivery service. Mm-hmm. And then they pay their delivery drivers peanuts.
They always will make more, yeah.
They're pocketing a lot of money. I do not know how you can possibly legislate a company to change their profit margin.
When you do, you see what happens. They just shut down because you have some leftist who doesn't know a thing about being a business owner and doesn't care, just wants to make higher wages. Now the people that do those jobs that like them or that do them in between, whether it's lucrative or not, is not relevant to me because it's a choice. It's America to choose what you want. And now they have no choice.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of backfired.
You know, our producer, one of our producers here, Broseph, he said he drove for Uber for a couple months and he quit because of that. He did the math and he's like, I'm losing. I'm absolutely losing.
Right.
So that's his decision, and I respected it. Thanks for your call, Cheryl. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Do you feel that people who choose to work at a job like Uber or Lyft are being, quote, exploited for cheap labor, as the Minneapolis City Council members say? And do you think minimum wage laws or living wage laws actually work? And do you think the more you increase it, the less businesses are going to hire and the more they're likely to leave where they leave areas where they've passed these minimum wage and living wage laws? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I am reminded of the one of the leftist Democrats from California that recently said she wants a $50 minimum wage. A $50 minimum wage. So there's just no limits to this. Let's see who it is that proposed this. Barbara Lee. She's a Senate hopeful. Wants $50 an hour for minimum wage. $50 an hour. What do you say? Who's signing up for that? That's so funny. Oh, that's funny. That's just amazing. Trying to see what her comment was on this. This is so funny. Yeah, I don't see if there's a comment just saying that she proposed that and she wants that. So there you go. Enjoy that. $50 minimum wage. That's funny. All right. The move, Uber says, is putting 10,000 people out of work and leaving many stranded. So the saying here is, I see this as saying, let's punish our people even more, the people who live in our city of Minneapolis, by not having rideshare, by not having rideshare, and by losing 10,000 jobs to people that have. So I think this is, you know what? It's just like Chicago, my hometown where I was born and raised in, where they, with the city of Chicago, where they keep electing people like this socialist mayor Brandon Johnson, who's worse than Larry Lightfoot ever was. And he's had this illegal invasion. He's brought measles into the community in their public schools now. They've taken over many African-American places that they're showing up. African-Americans are showing up in these heavily black neighborhoods, and they're screaming at their the city council members and their mayor, well, you guys, hey, somebody voted this guy in, and that's the city of Chicago. So it's just unbelievable that people vote for this garbage and then get mad at them. Well, why did you vote for this idiot? Why did you vote? At what point do you have to be mistreated and crapped on before you finally say, I'm not voting this way anymore? It blows me away. Same thing in Minneapolis. You know, you're going to figure out real fast when you can't afford anything and when you can't drive anywhere, get a ride anywhere. All right. 800-288-WBAP is our number. As promised, I promised to tell you about an A-list actor who has just pleaded guilty to illegally hiking in one of our U.S. federal parks. You got to hear about this. Coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Oh boy, this is great. Look, I like Pierce Brosnan, excuse me. I like him. Here's why I like him. He's married to the same woman for 30 or 40 years. And as she's aged, she doesn't look, as gorgeous and svelte and he could get a lot of beautiful women in their 20s. Unequivocal. But he doesn't, because he's a married man and he values and treasures his marriage, which is very precious to me. So I really like that about him, and the kind and sweet things he says about his wife in interviews and such, and the pictures and everything. So I'm really happy for him. But this is ridiculous what he did. It's actually very funny, especially since he chose to plead not guilty, but yet there's pictures of him doing what he pleaded not guilty to doing. That was the funniest thing in the world. You could see his pictures on social media. He's like, hey! And he's literally standing where he's not supposed to be standing. It's bad, too, though. Apparently, he could have been, horribly burned or killed. It's Yellowstone National Park. Have you been? Okay, producer Garrett has been. How serious are the signs, and how serious is it when you go there? Do they tell you about how serious it is, like how you cannot walk off the path, you can't go in these areas where you're not supposed to go because you can die or something? What does it say? Do you remember what they said? I'm sure you were reading it because that'd be fascinating to me. Okay. He says they had what? Railings and stuff? He doesn't remember the signs, but they had railings. All I know is when I go to Grand Canyon, they make it real clear. And people still act like idiots. Yeah. Here we go, right? Actor Pierce Brosnan pleaded guilty to an illegal hiking charge. And by the way, if you've been over there to Yellowstone Park, let me know what your experience was, and if you think it's easy to walk on places you're not supposed to walk, where you could get burned or ruin, wildlife or nature, whatever they do over there. Do they make it obvious that really you really can't do it? Is there really no excuse for people who walk off the path and go to where you're not supposed to go like he did? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Actor Pierce Brosnan pleaded guilty to an illegal hiking charge and agreed to pay $1,500 fine for walking into a protected Yellowstone hot spring. It comes 2 months after he pleaded not guilty after he ventured off the path permitted at Yellowstone National Park last year in November. So that's not too long ago. He pleaded guilty to one of the 2 illegal hiking charges brought against him after he tried to get a closer look at the thermals in the Mammoth Terraces section of the park. Federal rules say you must stay, for visitors, they say you must stay on the designated walkways. Venturing off the boardwalk is punishable by up to 6 months in jail and fine of $5,000. Put him in jail! Lock him up! Does he support Trump? Lock him up! Call him an insurrectionist. He's an insurrectionist! He's seen in this picture that's on the Daily Mail's coverage of this. He's seen standing on the springs. He's standing on the springs where he's not allowed to go. He's like, I didn't do it. I'm not guilty. He pleaded not guilty to wandering in the delicate and dangerous hot springs at Yellowstone National Park, despite being pictured standing in the protected area at the time of the alleged infraction. He was cited twice over the violation. He's 70 years old. He was cited twice over the violations at the thermals in Mammoth Terraces section of the park. Can you imagine being that officer? You have to recognize the guy. I mean, the guy's been in movies for 20, 30 years now, right? At least 20 years. That I can't remember when it was, but the guy's been totally recognizable for years. The features, the Daily Mail says, are dangerous and fragile. If damaged, they can take years to correct. Numerous people have been killed from falling into Yellowstone's scalding pools. Can you imagine seeing some idiot and then watching them fall into the thing and just go, and watch them die? And you can't go save them, because if you do, you could be dead too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think I would do it. You're not supposed to go there. But more importantly, if somebody's in there boiling alive, it's like ice. You know what I mean? If somebody collapses through the ice, are you going to run over and try to pull them up out of the ice? No. Unless you know what you're doing. So he'd been in the area filming The Unholy Trinity, a Western starring him as a sheriff, alongside Samuel L. Jackson. He's seen in Dante's Peak. So he's just the latest tourist to be busted. At least 22 people have died from burns sustained in Yellowstone's springs and geysers. They include Colin Nathaniel Scott, thought to have dissolved. Oh my gosh. Thought to have dissolved in the hot, acidic water after leaving the boardwalk. Oh my gosh. Did they find his estate? I want your $5,000. Where's my $5,000? Like the Paperboy and Better Off Dead. I want my $2. Similarly, the foot of, I don't know what that is, Ilhun Rowe or Tuhun Rowe. It's a man's name. Ilhun Rowe, 70, was discovered. A foot of his was discovered by a National Parks employee after apparently falling in. So there's his foot sitting there. Holy gosh. In 2021, a Connecticut woman jailed for 7 days, fined $2,000 and banned from Yellowstone for 2 years for leaving the walkway and approaching the thermals. Man, these people are stupid. Reminds me of the idiots that get gored by bison. Oh my gosh. Let's go pet the bison, or let's go buy the bison, even though we're told to not do that. I guess it's Darwinism at its finest.